S-P-E-A-K. Everybody wanna sing. Speak up. S-P-E-A-K. Speak up.
Welcome to the Speak Up English channel. Are you ready to embark on an exciting journey of language learning? At Speak Up, we're passionate about helping you improve your English listening skills. Our lessons are packed with engaging content, including short talks, conversations, reports, news, and captivating short stories. Let's make this learning adventure fun and rewarding. Subscribe now and join our community at the Speak Up English channel. Let's learn, laugh, and grow together. Subscribe to Speak Up.
Sportswear. 3 stripes and you are out. A marketing victory for Nike is a business win for Adidas.
The choice to replace Adidas with Nike as the supplier of kit for the German football team from 2027 to 2034 was a purely commercial decision by the German Football Federation, that's DFB. Germans' reaction to the ending of a 77-year-old all-German partnership was, by contrast, highly emotional. Commerce is destroying a piece of Heimat, lamented Karl Lauterbach, the health minister, using the German word that evokes the idea of home, belonging and place. Robert Habeck, the economy minister, said that he would have hoped for a bit more local patriotism. Markus Söder, Bavaria's straight-shooting premier, declared it simply wrong, a pity and incomprehensible. Bernd Neuendorf, head of the DFB, was aghast at the outcry. In his view, the decision was a no-brainer. The DFB is in financial dire straits, and he received an offer from the American company that was far higher than the one from Adidas. So he accepted it. According to reports in the German press, Nike offered €100 million, that's $108 million, to kit out the Nationale Mine shaft, twice as much as its German rival. For the world's biggest maker of sportswear, with an annual operating profit of $6 billion, it is pocket change. For Adidas, the distant number 2, which eked out just €268 million from operations in 2023, matching Nike would have burnt a hole in its pocket. Bayern Gulden, who took over as chief executive of Adidas at the start of 2023, chose finance over football, his earlier career as a professional player notwithstanding. Under the no-nonsense Norwegian's leadership, Adidas seemed to be at last on the path to recovery. Its share price has risen by around 40% over the past 12 months. Its operating profit may pale in comparison with Nike's, but it came as a pleasant surprise to analysts, who had forecast a loss. Mr. Gulden expects an operating profit of €500 million this year. Adidas's chief runs the business well, sums up Anisha Sherman of Bernstein, a broker. He has mended Adidas's dysfunctional relationship with retailers. He has increased the production of Gazelle and Samba, 2 classic Adidas trainers popular with European and American fashionistas, tenfold. And he has found an elegant solution to €1.2 billion in unsold stock of Yeezy shoes, designed by Ye, an American rapper, formerly known as Kanye West, with whom Adidas has severed ties after his offensive outbursts. The Yeezys are being sold in tranches, with parts of the profit going to charities. Nike, for its part, needed a win. It recently warned that its sales will be clobbered this year by On and Hoka, 2 trendy running shoe brands. In China, a huge market, it faces competition from homespun rivals such as Anta. Cristina Fernandez of Telsey Advisory, another broker, notes that a renewed focus on sport is one way that Nike's boss, John Donahoe, is trying to revive the swoosh, along with reducing inventory and improving relations with wholesalers. In December, he also announced $2 billion in cost cuts over the next 3 years. And in February, he said he would eliminate around 1,600 jobs, or 2% of Nike's worldwide workforce. One area where Mr. Donahoe's axe will not fall is marketing. He pumped a cool $1 billion into promoting Nike's brand in the last quarter, 10% more than in the previous 3 months. As part of this campaign, he is reportedly willing to pay much more for kitting out the German squad, which is ranked a middling 16th in the world, than for the French team, which is second. Instead of bashing Mr. Gulden and Adidas, Germans should be praising the firm's Pfennig pinching. After all, what is more Heimat than thriftiness?
Listen carefully. You will hear a tutor and two students discussing a business case study.
Right, Jason and Karen. Now, I asked you to look at the case study for Box Telecom as part of your exam assessment. It's interesting because they're in the middle of problems at the moment, and I want you to track how they deal with them. Let's start with you, Karen. Having read through the case study, can you just summarise what the problems were that Box Telecom had to take on board?
Yeah. Well, of course, what first came to their attention was that despite a new advertising campaign, they were suffering from falling sales, and this is something that had many causes. On top of that immediate problem, what had also happened over the last 2 years was that although they had invested in an expansion plan, they had to face up to increased competition. And before they had a chance to get to grips with the effects of that, they were stalled by a strike. And it was just when they were thinking about making a colossal investment in new machinery for their plants. So they were really in trouble.
Yes, I think that's fair. And Jason, now you contacted the company, didn't you? What did the company define as the reasons for these problems?
Well, I think they've hit on the right things. It would be easy to say they had invested too heavily or at the wrong time, but in fact the signs were good, and what they were set back by was high interest rates. At the same time, their longer-term problems, which were affecting their market share, were eventually credited to poor training. And having looked at the details in their last report, I think that's right.
So, on to the larger issues then. Karen, what do you think the company will do?
Well, obviously, they have the choice of accepting the very favourable terms that another company, KMG PLC, have given them to buy them out. That would mean creating a new company with a new image. Or they could decide on a bolder move and offer some new shares if they wanted. But I think they're much more cautious than that and expect they will start trying to find individuals who'd be prepared to back them with some of the capital they need.
Well, you mustn't always assume that dramatic problems require dramatic solutions. Sometimes there's a simple fix, such as changing the guy at the top. If they truly are cautious, then I suspect they will seek to shut down some of their shops. But a more ambitious approach, and one which I think would have more chance of success, would be to alter how they're running things, the management layers and the processes. So, in your analysis, try to think of all the options. Jason?
Yes, it's interesting because I found it a really useful company to study. Its problems cross all types of industries, and it's lucky it's so big. A smaller or even medium-sized company would have gone under by now.
Well, in fact, what I want you two to do is to go away when we've finished our discussion today and write a report. We've looked in general at the telecommunications market in the UK over the last few sessions, and I want you to take Box Telecom as an example and suggest some ways in which they might overcome their problems and outline the reasons why you think as you do. But try and keep it intrinsic to the company rather than dragging in other examples. Is that okay, Karen?
Yes, I think I can do that. Personally, I've got great hopes for it. I think it will recover. That advertising campaign they did was very strong, and they're very innovative with their products. They set new trends. The company's got to recover, don't you think, Jason?
I'm not sure. I think it can, but it's not a foregone conclusion unless they manage to attract the right level of investment. The company definitely needs a boost, and to attract more highly skilled workers if their recovery is to be long-lasting. When I was talking to the marketing manager, he said to me that he thinks the company had got a great management team, But he would say that, wouldn't he? But they are suffering from having to work with outdated production machinery, and that could cost a lot to put right.
Well, personally, I think the stock market is to blame. I think they were expecting too much of the company, and then inevitably it looked bad when it didn't perform. The market should have had more realistic expectations. And I disagree with you about the advertising campaign, Karen. That's where they could do with some innovation to get sales kick-started. Anyway, let's see what you come up with those.
Listen carefully. You will hear a university librarian giving a talk to new students.
Okay, are you all settled? Well, first of all, welcome to Cardiff University. I'm here to explain what we can offer you. Now, as a new student at the university, you will probably need some sort of guidance to help you to use the library effectively to study and research. Some of you have asked about a guided tour, but we find this rather muddles people. So, in this first week, we run a series of talks which focus on different aspects of the library and its resources. You'll also find that to get the most out of the library, you really do need to be computer literate. And so all this term we run small classes which will bring you up to speed on how to access the computer-loaded information. Okay, now let me give you an outline of what's available to you. You'll find that the computers are increasingly used as a research tool. Many students do most of their research on the internet, and the library computers are permanently online. Having found what you need, you'll find you can readily save texts on your personal computer space to print off when you need. You might think that it is the fastest way to get information, but the links can be slow. Clearly, you can find lots on there, but much of it is useless information, as it is from highly debatable sources, so be critical. You'll also find that the library has loaded several CD-ROMs onto the computers from specialist reference sources, such as the MLA. It means we can expand what we offer you at very little extra cost and saves us having to invest in more and more books. The CD-ROMs contain exactly the same information as the reference books, as the two are updated together. Now, most of you will need to refer to journal articles in your work, and you'll find you can also access these online, and we encourage you to do so. Clearly, some of you will find the printed version more accessible as it sits on the shelves, but I'm afraid the intention is to phase these out eventually. However, you will still be able to print off a version of the text rather than photocopying the journal pages. So you must get used to working online. Naturally, we do still have the full range of classic reference books, additional to the CD-ROMs for you to use, and there are several copies of each one. This is because some of you may prefer to borrow a book rather than sit in the library. There is a restricted loan time on these so that they are not missing from the shelves for too long. Although there is a section manager for each part of the library, they are very busy, and so if you do get stuck looking for things, you should ask the relevant cataloguing assistant. As your training supervisor, I just oversee your induction and will not be around after this initial week. Some of you may be interested to know that the library is offering specialised training sessions on writing a dissertation. Obviously, this is not relevant to those of you who are undergraduates, it is just for postgraduates. Your department will discuss the planning stage of the dissertation, i.e. what you're going to do with you, and we will focus on the structure of it. However, the training will also include some time on the computers. I realise most of you know how to organise files, but we can show you the different ways to run data programs. Your tutors will tell you at the outset how to set out the chapters they require, but you will need to ask them how they would like you to organise the bibliography, because it varies depending on your subject area. When you've got something together, the trainer here will look through the draft version for you to see if it's okay. And one final point, for those of you who have registered from abroad, we can offer individual sessions on dissertations if you feel you need them. If you require language lessons, then they are available from the International Centre next to the Law Department.
Listen carefully.
Henry, I've asked you 10 times to cut the grass. Quit putting it off and go do it, now.
I don't feel like cutting it now, Mom. I'm reading a really interesting book.
But the yard looks horrible. The neighbors are going to criticize us for it. You know how they complain.
Oh, Mom, can't we talk about something different?
No, Henry, we are not going to avoid talking about this anymore. I want that grass cut today, and that's that.
Okay, Mom, if you insist. I'll do it now.
So, Doctor, if I understand you correctly, you're saying that when people draw faces, they're actually saying how sociable they are.
Yes, or how unsociable. For example, when people draw angry faces, it usually means that they have trouble relating to other people. They avoid trusting people, and they resist opening themselves up to others. They seldom admit being in the wrong. People often consider them to be antisocial.
Aren't they similar to people who consistently draw sad faces? I mean, being antisocial?
Well, there are some similarities, but people who draw sad faces aren't antisocial. They often deny having deep feelings about people, but they do have them. In fact, they want to have relationships with others. They just don't have strong self-images. They try to be what others want them to be. Believing in themselves and being more confident would help them to adjust.
Don't most of us just draw normal faces?
Well, if you mean happy faces, yes. Most people draw happy faces. This means that most of us are normal, friendly, easygoing people who enjoy being with others. People in this category like going out and having an active social life. They often like telling funny stories or jokes. They have a good sense of humor.
Like people who draw clown faces or silly faces, right?
Actually, no. People who draw silly or ugly faces are really showing their difficulties in developing personal relationships. They often feel threatened by other people, and they hide their feelings of insecurity by acting out roles. They avoid risking their true inner selves by covering them up.
What about people who are just bad artists?
Well, it seems that no matter how bad the drawing, it still reflects aspects of the artist's personality.
How fascinating. I'm sure our listeners would be interested in other ways to analyze their personalities. I hope you'll come back and talk with us on another show.
Listen to this. A blind date.
Good evening. Miss Barbara Logan?
Hi, that's me. Are you my blind date?
Yeah, I guess I am. I'm John's friend. He and your friend Mary arranged for us to go out together tonight.
I know. Wasn't it a fantastic idea? I just love meeting new people.
I can tell you do.
Well, come on in, Frank, and meet my family.
Gee, I don't know. Being around people's parents really makes me feel nervous.
Oh, come on. You can talk about sports with my dad. He loves talking about football and basketball.
But I hate talking about sports. I just don't know anything about them.
Really? I play on a basketball team, and I enjoy tennis and swimming, too.
Oh, well, I like going to the beach, but I can't swim. I like collecting different kinds of shells.
I see. Well, if you don't feel like meeting my parents, we'd better leave. The movie starts at 8.
Movie? Gee, movies are pretty expensive. Wouldn't you like to go to a concert? They're playing Bach and Handel at the concert hall tonight, and I have free tickets.
To tell you the truth, Frank, I don't enjoy listening to classical music very much. But I'll go if you really want to.
No, we can do something else.
How about bowling? Do you like doing that?
I've never gone bowling in my life. I'd probably be just awful. Everybody would die laughing at me.
Gee, you don't have much confidence in yourself, do you? Well, okay, we won't go bowling. But what do you want to do?
What if we just take a walk in the park? It's really nice out.
Okay, Frank. That sounds just fine to me. I like taking walks. And they're free.
Listen carefully.
Have you ever thought of going to see a fortune teller?
No, but I bet I'd hear a lot of interesting things.
Do fortune tellers charge a lot of money?
You mean, what's the price of advice?
I've had a lot of interesting roommates over the years. But I'm having a lot of trouble with my new one. He's got a number of good qualities as a person. But I'm tired of doing all the cleaning. I'm also sick of arriving home to find his dirty dishes in the sink. He never thinks of going grocery shopping either. I don't think he's even aware of the fact that he's annoying me. I'm thinking of moving out of my brother's house.
Listen carefully.
Conversation 1.
Hi, Mary. Is that a new dress?
Oh, hello, Chen. Yes, it is. It was a birthday present.
Well, you look very pretty.
Thanks, but it's not really my style. If I were taller, the dress would look a lot better.
Conversation 2.
Carlos, could you come here a minute?
Sure, Ellen.
I have to type this report to give to the boss, but I can't read your handwriting.
Sorry, I know my handwriting is terrible. If I had the time, I'd take a typing course. Then you wouldn't have to do it for me.
Conversation 3.
Bruce, would you mind not smoking here? The smoke really bothers me.
Sure, Fatima. I'm sorry. You know, I have been trying to quit smoking, but the pressure at work just gets to me.
I know. You can do it if you want to, though. Why don't you try chewing gum instead?
Listen carefully.
A.
This is the life. I'm sure glad school's out and vacation has started.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be great if vacation lasted all year long?
It sure would. In fact, that's part of my vision of a perfect world.
Tell me more about your ideal world.
Well, I'd have only mountains, rivers, and green forests. That would eliminate pollution.
Yeah, and if all the wild animals were all vegetarians, they wouldn't be dangerous. We could have tame lions as pets.
And if exotic flowers grew as big as trees, the entire planet would smell like perfume.
And think how romantic it would be if the moon were full every night.
And in an ideal world, we'd stay young and good-looking forever.
Yeah, just like we are now.
B.
I think we should discuss our new advertising idea at tomorrow's meeting.
You're right. If I were you, Frank, I'd bring it up right at the beginning.
You know, if we could get the new president's support, the rest of the department would have to go along with our plan.
Probably. But if you went to the president directly, it would offend the vice president. You know he's oversensitive, and he mistrusts everybody.
Yes, but if he knew the president approved our plan, I think he'd change his mind.
Come on, let's not be underhanded about this. After all, we have the right formula. We know our sales would increase a lot if we used ordinary people instead of professional models in our ads. Why can't he see that?
I don't know. I think our sales are decreasing because those models look so fake. How can our customers believe them if they don't look authentic?
I'm sure he'd go along with us if we could only make him see our vision.
Okay, you've inspired me. I'll propose the idea tomorrow. If nothing else, maybe we can convince him to try it on a temporary basis. Then if it works, we can make it a permanent policy.
Listen carefully.
If I had my druthers, I'd live in the country. I don't really like city life.
What kind of house would you buy, Liz?
Oh, I'd like to have a small farm, Don. I'd have a flower garden in the front and a vegetable garden in the back, and I'd also have a few animals for fresh meat and eggs. And if I had extra meat or eggs, I'd get into my pickup truck and drive to the town market to sell them.
That sounds nice, Liz, but it would be a lot of hard work. You'd be exhausted in no time.
Well, Sue, for my vacation, I'd go to a fabulous resort hotel where everybody did everything for me. I'd get plenty of rest.
Personally, I'd rather stay in the city. I'd have a luxurious apartment with all the extras, like a swimming pool and a jacuzzi hot tub. And if I got tired of driving around in my luxury town car, I'd take a trip to Europe.
If you had the money, you mean. My dream is cheaper than yours, Sue. My idea of a good vacation is a camping trip in some beautiful natural area. In fact, I'd like to live in the woods. If I could, I'd build my own cabin.
Well, that sports car you said you wanted wouldn't be the best car to have in the woods.
Maybe not, but I'd love to have a red sports car anyway.
That's what's great about dreams. They don't have to be logical. Hello.
Hi, Mary. Do you have a minute?
What's the matter, Jake? You sound upset.
I really need to talk to a friend, Mary, and I know you'll understand.
What's wrong? Is it something at work?
Well, kind of.
Does it have to do with Catherine?
Yeah. You know, when she got a job in the same company as me, I thought it was a great idea. I thought we'd see each other more, have more to share with each other, and become even closer. But it hasn't turned out that way at all.
Are you upset because she got that promotion?
No, not at all. I'm proud of her. But I feel like she's ignoring me at work because her job is more important than mine. I don't feel that she respects me anymore, especially now that she goes to the executive dining room with the big bosses. She never has lunch with me.
But that's expected of her. A lot of work gets done at those power lunches. Now, come on. You know she'd rather be with you.
Well, if I talked to her about it, I know she'd think I was jealous of her new job.
Jake, if I were you, I'd bring it up tonight as soon as you get home. You need to tell Catherine how you really feel.
If I did, she'd laugh at me.
No, she wouldn't. If you told her how you felt, she'd realize how important this was to you. Then you could find a way to solve the problem together. Really. Tell her how you feel.
I just don't think I can. I don't know if I'm an important part of her life anymore. Why did she ever take this stupid job with my company? If she were back in her old job, we wouldn't have this problem.
Stop worrying about it, Jake. Be frank with Catherine and tell her your feelings. Believe me, it really is the best thing to do.